Mr. Pascal said, quote, "This is about Trump pushing for uncertainty in our country, a sitting president asking for civil war." And then when he said, "This week I feel guilty for helping him win," Katrina Pearson responded, "You did what you felt right at the time, and therefore it was right." Mr. Pascal added, "Yeah, but a woman is dead. And yeah, if I was Trump and I knew my rhetoric killed someone." When Ms. Pearson replied, "It wasn't the rhetoric," Mr. Pascal said, "Katrina, yes, it was."
The January 6th committee revealed those stunning text messages to the American public for the first time between Trump allies Brad Parscale and Katrina Pearson. For more, let's get straight to Mark Leibovich, staff writer at The Atlantic. He is the author of the new must-read summer book, Thank You for Your Servitude, Donald Trump's Washington and the Price of Submission. Mark, I'm so glad you're here. Just before the show, you just said I was concerned. I was feverishly looking for some reporting. Josh Dawsey of The Washington Post reported that Brad Parscale, after those texts were publicized, he called Donald Trump. After those texts that clearly show Brad Parscale blaming Trump's rhetoric for people dying, according to a few people, Brad Parscale still thinks he's going to work for Trump. Can you explain to me how this loyalty, how these relationships work? Because last I checked, Brad Parscale is a really smart digital media guy. He can make a whole lot of money elsewhere. Why keep going back to the well?
I think, first of all, I'm not sure he can make a lot of money elsewhere at this point. But here's the dynamic here.
There's a lot of dark places for people who know how to use the internet.
No question.
Well. I'm not saying he could work at the White House, but come on.
Or IBM or something like that. No, that is true. I think what's interesting is the dynamic here, though. Donald Trump loves people bowing down and apologizing and cowering before him. I mean, there is really nothing that pleases him more. And when people feel like they need to make up with him, that they need to apologize profusely. I mean, remember a few weeks ago when Kevin McCarthy was caught on tape basically saying, "I'm going to ask him to resign. This is atrocious." And, you know, it was like 2 days. I mean, what's Trump going to do? What will Daddy do? And McCarthy's basically cowering before him and apologizing and so forth. And Trump says, "Oh, okay." And, you know, it's like, I have asserted my mastery over you. And look, I think there's a lot of like kind of warped psychology, you know, that contributes to the loyalty that he enjoys or sort of lords over a lot of the Republican Party. But he has certainly exploited it to his benefit.
But why? You recently wrote in the Atlantic, "The Most Pathetic Men in America," and you talk about Lindsey Graham and others who didn't need to be pathetic shills for Donald Trump. They had big, long-standing careers long before him, right? Like, I get it why Sean Spicer is willing to be a human shield. The last time he was in the White House before Trump, he was literally wearing an Easter Bunny suit. I get it. They've never had a seat at the table, never gone to the party. Right. Lindsey Graham has. Why do this?
Well, Lindsey Graham needed to be reelected in 2020. So, I mean, and this is one of his colleagues said to me about Lindsey Graham, there's no one who needs the U.S. Senate more than Lindsey does. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't have much else in his life. And the guy just absolutely lives to be in Washington, have his big office, have his big staff, and be relevant, be at the dice table, as he says. He gets a real kick out of this life, and he needs it. Even better than being in the Senate is being the president's golfing buddy. I mean, he loves alpha dogs. John McCain was his alpha dog for all these years. Lindsey's always been a very happy sidekick, right? The guy who can sort of go along, be the mascot, and be in the room.
But a sidekick who is willing to get kicked? Talk to us. I mean, you have covered politics in Washington for years. Have you ever seen this kind of unwavering loyalty, even after something like January 6th, right? Was Richard Nixon surrounded by loyalists and homeboys after the fact?
Not after the fact. I mean, look, every politician has loyalists. Every politician has acolytes. But Trump takes it up about 100 new levels. And look, the point of the book here is that Donald Trump did not have to happen. I mean, Donald Trump is just sort of a geriatric fox-watching golfer in Florida, like a lot of people fit that category, without the backing of the Republican Party.
It was brilliantly shameless.
Absolutely. It's a superpower. I mean, you know, he can't be embarrassed. He can't be shamed. And he also has a superpower. It is. And he also, I remember he told me this at the end of 2015. I was doing a profile of him for the New York Times Magazine. And he said, "Mark, you know, I'm going to win. I'm going to win because all these people on stage with me," this is right after a debate, "they're weak. and I know how to find weakness in people and exploit it. And I don't know if he used the word exploit it or take advantage of. I think that was his exact word. And in this particular case, he was 100% right. I mean, they just rolled over. Even those who were like the most bitter rivals at the end, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, I mean, eventually they became doormats, and it didn't take very long. And ultimately, they still are very much subservient to him.
Well, those doormats are silent today, right? Today, who are you hearing from in terms of GOP leadership? Today, Elise Stefanik was supposed to be in charge, right, of the pushback after the hearing.
Yeah.
It's radio silent.
Yeah.
Do you believe that a whole lot of those Republicans are quietly crossing all their fingers and toes, hoping that Donald Trump is actually getting weaker because of these hearings so they don't have to bow to him anymore?
Maybe. I think they're probably embarrassed, too. I don't think they have anything to say because they know if they're going to sort of speak the truth about what they're hearing.
They had 4 years of embarrassment, and they were down with it.
I think that they're very uncomfortable. I think a lot of them wish they could have the strength to be like Liz Cheney at this point. I think ultimately they know, maybe not that deep in their hearts, that she's right. And, you know, they know she's right, and they've made a different calculation. And they have to sort of make an argument or sort of run from this argument that you know, somehow they have to justify what they're doing. And silence is really the only option at this point.
Thank you for your servitude.
Thank you.
Out today. You got to read it. Mark, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Congratulations
Stephanie.
on the new book.
Great to be here.
Thanks for staying up late.